Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tea with TPS, conversation with thought leaders in India and abroad. Today, our distinguished guest is Dr. Ajit Nair, MSc, PhD, FBSE, one of the most distinguished international scientists from California, USA. He has the distinction of being a lifelong member of the International College of Fellows. Among other things, he has been a major participant in the Total Artificial Heart Project. He also has several patents in medical and biomedical research. He began as an engineer, graduated in IIT, took a PhD, and then shifted to medicine. In the US, they say there are two kinds of doctors, the MDs or the moneyed doctors, and PhDs, the poor and hungry doctors. So here is someone who turned from PhD to MD. And he is not only a moneyed doctor, but also has made many more contributions than normal medical doctors do. Welcome, Dr. Ajit Nair, to Tea with TPS.
Thank you, Ambassador Sreenivasan, for the kind introduction that you gave. And once more, thank you again for inviting me to your very popular and famous show. And first of all, let me congratulate you on the achievement that your Civil Service Academy achieved this year also, as it used to be in the previous years, and outstanding, brilliant performance by your students or your trainees who secured good ranking in the civil service examinations. Congratulations again. I recall our meeting in New York where I had the honor to receive an award from you along with the Honorable Assistant Secretary to Obama administration, Mr. Arun Kumar, and our conversation regarding, how to move forward the research and, what is happening all over the world and, how India can catch up on all those things. And, very interesting conversation. And also, we were, exchanging pleasantries and,
Yes, in fact, Arun was on my show just a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about Kerala and California, right, in your case. From Kerala
yes.
to California.
I saw it in your YouTube channel, the conversation with him, very interesting. And he always, we are friends. We both of us live in California and both sides of the bay. He lives in area called Palo Alto or Atherton, and I live in Pleasanton, that is right across the bay. We are not meeting nowadays because he is very busy, of course, going all over the world.
In India.
Yeah. He's currently in India with the KPMG. I know that. And, his wife is also a good friend of ours. And she's the daughter of our great historian, Dr. Menon. Yeah. And so we because of the COVID, we have not been meeting quite often. Otherwise, in many of the functions, when we used to meet. And that was a good experience. And even before, we had an opportunity to meet for that FOCANA meeting in Las Vegas, where when I was presenting the artificial heart, history of artificial heart, and I was fortunate to have you come there. And, then you asked me to talk in Malayalam because this is a Malayali conference, So I was trying to make it in Malayalam, and you told it was not bad. I tried to translate all those, whatever tough technical words in artificial heart in Malayalam, and you are saying that,
Well,
okay.
that will be too much of an effort. Normally, you use English words all the time.
That's correct.
What we call Manipravalam. That's what we normally use.
Exactly. Manipravalam, English and Malayalam. I mean, even though.
Let me ask you about your journey. You come from a village which produced the President of India.
That's correct.
Mr. K.R. Narayanan came from Udavu. He went all the way to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. You went even further. You went beyond the seas and became a distinguished scientist in the United States. You did the IIT, you did a PhD. So it must have been a fascinating journey. Tell us about it briefly.
Sure. And I think there is no comparison between Dr. Narayan and myself. I mean, he's much over. And when I was growing up, I was looking at him. I mean, as an icon and idol. I mean, how he has achieved all those things. Yeah, I was born in a village called Uravur. That's my father's, the ancestral house. And my mother's house was not too far, 10 kilometers away from Uravur, a place called Nirur. And that place is also very, very famous. At one time in 60s, that Nirur post office was the post office that was receiving the largest amount of foreign exchange money in the whole India. Because I think, at least 2/3 of every member from that Nirur village was in Germany or USA or in Europe.
Mostly nurses, is it? Nurses.
Exactly. Mostly nurses, and that place is the concentration place for the Knanaya community of the Catholic denomination, and so all of them, and at least 2 to 3 people from every family used to be in Germany. So that is my mother's place. Then I had, my father was in the government service. He was director for inland transportation for Kerala. And so he settled in Kottayam town. That is only just 18 kilometers from Uravur. So I went to school there, and that school is a very famous school, MT Marthoma Seminary High School, which several times won the best school award in Kerala. And that was the first time when it was introduced. This school won the award, but that time I was just passed out of the school. Then I went to SB College, Changanashiri, St. Berkman's College. Now it's an autonomous body. And I did, at that time, that course was known as pre-degree. So I did my pre-degree in SB College, then went on to engineering. One of the reasons why I was in engineering, in my mind, I wanted to become a doctor always, but my brother was already a doctor, he was in medical school when I was entering the pre-degree. So my father told, he has taken second group, you go and take the first group. At that time, there was no choice, if you go to first group, this time,
nobody wants.
Exactly. Nowadays, you can have biology also in the first group, and you can have mathematics too. And at that time, you remember, first group was physics, chemistry, mathematics, and second group was physics, chemistry, biology. So the people who go to biology will go to medical school, and with the first group, you go to. So that's why I went to engineering.
I've been trying to change all that, because options should be much more than this. You should have music, physics, and mathematics. That's the kind of choice you have in the United States. But that's not come up yet.
No, it hasn't come up. So I had to take up engineering, and so I went for engineering. And my basic degree in engineering was at that time very popular branch called metallurgical engineering, because the Tata Steel, the Steel Authority of India, National, the Copper Authority, all those, was hot there. And so I went and took engineering. I finished my engineering and started my career in a multinational company at that time, a Calcutta, a Canadian company, which is called Alcan. And the Indian version of it is that Indian Aluminum Company, and they have a big production facility in Kalamassery, Cochin. So initially I was appointed in Calcutta, and later, I requested a transfer to Kerala, and I landed up in Cochin. That is when my father got sick, and he was taken to the hospital in Trivandrum. At that time, it was becoming very famous, and that is the time where it is 1983-84 time. So he was taken as a referral patient to Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology, shortly known as SCT. And when I was going with him, my brother was there, who was a doctor. When I saw this hospital, I was sort of, surprised. Is there a hospital like this? It's so well maintained, disciplined, and everyone was following. So then I checked, this is a hospital. How can it be? Then they told, this is not a state hospital. This is a Government of India hospital. Okay, Government of India hospital. That is. Then curiosity's sake, I started checking, what it is and all those things. And then first time I came to know about Dr. M.S. Veliyathan, Padma Vibhushan, Dr. M.S. Veliyathan. At that time, I didn't have any idea what he has done or what he is going to do. But in the conversation with the other doctors who came to check my dad, I came to know that there is an engineering or a technology division right across the city near Mudavan Mughal, and that's the old Sethalmount Palace that is converted to a technology center. So I was there for almost a month, with my father. So I decided to visit that facility. So I asked one of the doctors. I still remember it was Dr. Venkatachalam, who was the chief of cardiology at that time. So I think he is retired. Later, I came to when I came to study, do my PhD in University of Utah. His brother was the head of the computer science department there. Anyway, so I went to this biomedical technology wing, which is called BMT wing. At that time, the head of the BMT wing was Professor A.V. Ramani, Venkat Ramani. And he comes from the lineage of Sir C.V. Raman, and his uncle was Dr. Ram Seshan, who was the director of Indian Institute of Science. So I'll come to him later because that there are so many things about that. I met Professor Ramani and told I am interested in engineering. At that time, I was also getting a little bit, I was not feeling the ownership of what I was doing in the Indian Aluminum Company. I was in the plant. I was trying to manage extrusion and trying to learn things. And they already put a student out of college, so many targets, finish all those things. So I was looking for something different, So Professor Ramani told, if you are interested, we may be hiring some engineers here. We need, we have a heart valve project, that is coming up, and we need engineers. And being a metallurgist, definitely you can help us because the majority portion of the valve is a metallic part, and have you done? Do you know anything about titanium? Because that's the time the titanium was getting introduced into medical research abroad too. I didn't know about that. I told definitely I'm interested, and after I think a couple of months, I saw an advertisement in Hindu. That's the only way at that time to find out whether there is a job opportunity all around India. That the Sri Chitra Tirunal is seeking or getting engineers for their heart valve project. So I applied for that, went for the interview. Before going to interview, I didn't know what exactly it is. I thought it is general engineering. So my brother, who is a doctor, who is a surgeon, even he is practicing now, elder brother, he told that they are doing some biomedical research there, that where you went, but I don't know what exactly it is. So what I can do is that I can I'll take you to my professor, who is in Kottayam Medical College, Dr. Chandramohan, and he was at the time cardiology chief there. So we went there, And surprisingly, he told that, oh, I came from a conference in New Delhi where Dr. Valiathan presented a paper on, this biomedical research. I have a copy of that, I'll give you that. And, he gave me that copy. And that was, after reading that, I decided I am going for this one. And that's the first time I heard or read about biomedical engineering, biomedical device technology, biocompatibility. That's a key word, biocompatibility and biomaterials. Oh, I have heard about, pyromaterials, space materials, but first time I am hearing about biomaterials. I read that, and he was talking about at that time, Professor L.L. Hinch. Later he became a very famous scientist who discovered something called bioglass ceramics. I think later it changed its shape in different ways, and still it is used in different forms. So I read it thoroughly, and I went for the interview. In the interview board, Dr. Valiathan was there, Professor Ramani was there, Dr. Ramasheshan was there, and a couple of doctors, from cardiology and neurology were there. So when they asked the question, what do you know about the medical research, I sort of reiterated whatever I read from Dr. Valiathan's paper. He was very impressed, he told that, I'm first time hearing somebody who knows about what is biomaterial. Just, you have less than a year's experience out of the college. And how do you know about that? I told him, frankly, sir, I read your paper. Oh, he was very impressed that, Then Professor Ramani told, okay, I think, you can help us, in many ways. So that's how I got the job as a scientist. First time,
appointed.
Appointed, yeah. I was appointed as a scientist.
You were appointed in Sreechitra.
Yeah, I was appointed in Sreechitra as a scientist, and I got onto the heart valve project. So I was directly reporting to Professor Ramani, who was the head of that technology wing. And then later I found that this Sreechitra Institute is an institute of national importance that has a special status. And not only that, the focus of the institute is on biomedical research, not on hospital. Hospital is one thing that is, to help the research.
Patients.
So that, yeah. Exactly, and so that the doctors can also get involved, and they can lead. They can be the user need part of the device. The technology is the one that is leading it, and it was confirmed by when I came to know that the Sreechitra Institute is not under the Department of or Health Ministry. It is under the Science and Technology Ministry. Okay, that made a difference. So then I understood why the technology development is more important, and hospital is sort of the proving that leading this one to find out what exactly is needed. So I started the career, and I was trying to, at that time, we had this valve cage and all those things. So Professor Ramani told, there is something we are talking about the biocompatibility, and that is one of the problems that we are facing here, meaning this valve, when we are putting it in the animal, the blood is clotting on top of it, so we need to find something about it. So you being a metallurgist and, having a background in materials, try to find something. And, so then started, going to library and, started doing all those things. Then along with Professor Ramani,
there was no internet at that time. No internet.
Pardon?
There was no internet at that time.
Nothing. There is no internet. There's reading books and taking notes and, then going back and, discussing and, then I sometimes when in the meetings, when I am saying about this one, people didn't believe it. So I had to take the whole big book and, show them that it is written there. And, in India, especially in Kerala, you need evidence for everything, and
they don't trust it.
And then they will catch you on your spelling mistake. That is the way it is. Anyway, to make the long story short, we developed a coating, which is compatible with this one. And you don't believe, in the beginning, for making it compatible, we were using that one of the components of the heart valve material was sapphire, that is a gemstone. And that was, Dr. Valiathan went to Switzerland, and there was only a couple of companies, that making, with the solid drawing method, the sapphire or the ring. But later we found that sapphire is too hard, and to this one it was doing some havoc on our titanium material. And then we changed to a plastic called ultra high molecular weight polyethylene.
But this was all before you got involved in the heart project later. So you were doing it at very initial stages.
Yeah. Right? This is on the heart valve. That is the one that led to my heart.
But this was independent of that. Later you got involved in the first artificial heart project in the US.
Correct. That's correct.
Years before that, you started it in Trivandrum. That's amazing.
That's true. And I was working on the heart valve and also the artificial lung, which is called the oxygenator at that time. So I was involved in both projects, and also that is, I think, what a visionary Dr. Valiathan was, and also I was involved in a system called hydrocephalus shunt. You have seen kids and people with a big head. What's happening is that in their head, the cerebrospinal fluid is getting stuck there and giving pressure, and the skull is expanding. So you have to drain it out. For draining it out, that what is called hydrocephalus shunt, and that research was the same in US. They were just starting that, and Dr. Valiathan knew about it, and he started it in Chitra. So I was involved in that, and that is when I got an opportunity through Government of India, that is Science and Technology again. I secured a fellowship called Boy's Cast Fellowship. I think it is still there. Boy's Cast means better opportunity for young scientists in chosen areas of science and technology. That is what it is. And it is actually, from an Indian perspective, it's a big fellowship. And that has some criteria, like, you have to get accepted in one of the universities in abroad, whether it is in Europe or US or Australia. You have to get selected there. They have to approve, and then the Government of India will provide all the assistance, including financial, air ticket, everything. You won't believe, at that time the Boy's Cast Fellowship was $1,500 per month. And at that time in the US, that was more than enough to live with your family, So, and they provide you the ticket back and forth. Only condition is that you have, after finishing the fellowship, you have to come back and serve India for at least 2 years. I got
famous J visa, right? You have
that's right. That's right. So what happened was that, but when I wanted to apply, get a consent from one of the universities, at that time itself, University of Utah was very famous for the artificial heart research and anything related to heart and things like that, which similar job we were doing in Chitra. So I wrote to Professor Kolf, and he is a big name in biomedical engineering. And he is known as the father of artificial organs. He is the one who first implanted an artificial heart in a dog, and the dog lived for 11 hours. But he did that. And he is the one who taught me how to solve a problem and do something. Whatever happens, you may fail, you may win, but keep on doing something. Perseverance is the key to success. Anyway, that I'll come to that later. So I got the letter from Dr. Kolf, and saying that you can come, but you'll stay with me 3 months, and if I'm satisfied with you, I will get you into my lab, or you have to leave. So he's very straightforward, and So then I went with this letter to Professor Valiathan. And he wrote me a support letter to Government of India. This is a one-time opportunity anyone can get. Working with Dr. Kolf, he's the father of artificial organs. I have that letter with me now. What a support letter! And I think within a week I got the information from Government of India. You are selected, And let us know when you are flying to University of Utah. Yeah, University of Utah. And University of Utah was very famous. Even now, it is one of the best universities in the world for two things. One is the development of artificial heart, and second thing is the cold fusion. If you remember all those things, cold. They are the one who developed the cold fusion, but it didn't go any further because they couldn't repeat that experiment many times. But it was a big bang in the whole world. Like without an atomic explosion, you can create infinite energy or whatever they called it at that time.
Fusion. They're still working on fusion in France.
Yeah, they are working, still working. Yeah, they are still working on that. And those are the same scientists who worked first and developed this superconducting material, and they became famous like that. And when we discuss the research situation scenario in India, I can come back to that superconductor research again. But that Utah was very famous, and that is how I came to Utah. Started working on artificial heart with Dr. Kolf. I first time came to know, okay, it's not a heart valve, it's a total heart. It's a totally different world, different animal. You are going from rabbit to dinosaur or whatever it is.
But by then, heart transplantation was taking place already in different parts of the world, right? Not artificial.
Yes, that is correct.
Somebody else, that is already there.
Yeah, right? The heart transplantation was there, but Christian Bernard, I met him. I spent some time with him in his lab. Afterwards.
South Africa, right?
South Africa. He used to come to US, Dr. Kolf's lab. They were good friends and exchanging so many things. So Dr. Kolf, one of the advantages of Dr. Kolf, is that he will send his students to all the reputed places, nice places, and say that go and see that, learn what you can. So he used to send us all over the world, and he used to take us for each and every meeting. Whether it is a SIO meeting, that artificial internal organs meeting, whether it is a biomaterials meeting, if he cannot come with us, he will send us go and take it, and he will send one of his professors with us to go there. So that is when I sort of jumped into the field of artificial heart, and that was a journey. And the first thing he told me is that we are developing a heart which is a pulsatile pump. They were trying to mimic exactly the pump, how the heart is working. So they created a diaphragm, and what they did was at one side, they have this chamber in which you have the tricuspid and bicuspid and all those valves. The bottom part is a chamber through which they will pump carbon dioxide, and there is a diaphragm that will be pumping up and down. So the blood go up and then it comes back. So they were trying to mimic the heart. One of the problems they were facing at that time during experiment was that the diaphragm is a polyurethane diaphragm. The carbon dioxide is slowly diffusing to the blood with time, because it has to go 10 million cycles at least. It has, the life of the heart is life of the Persian too. So it has to be there. So it is slowly diffusing into the blood, and the blood oxygenation, the PCO, what we call, the carbon dioxide level is going up with the patient. So then they have to remove and get extra oxygen and all those things. Even in the animals, we were seeing that. So he asked me, do something about it. That's how, Dr. Koch, he won't say, do something about it and, get back to me what we can do. Then when you get back to him, he will suggest, do this, do this. And that is how he direct, he will kindle your interest and, your curiosity into the problem, and then move forward. That is when the biocompatibility coating that I was working in Sri Chitra helped me.
Yes, and that's also what I found amazing. When I read about it, I thought you developed it in Utah, not in Sri Chitra.
Well,
when you talk about that,
it was developed in Utah, but it's in a different form. It's the coating concept was, embedded in me.
That ceramic element that you used, you already had used it in Chitra, right?
Yeah, the ceramic element was used in Chitra on the metallic covering. But here you had to think of coating something on a polymer that is a ceramic, which is breaking. So that is the technology I developed to coat this ceramic. Doesn't matter any ceramic now. You can coat it onto a plastic, and that too flexible plastic. So the technology that I developed is that making this coating amorphous from a ceramic, that brittle nature, making it into amorphous stage, and then coating it on flexible ceramic, and it stopped the diffusion, and that Dr. Kolf liked it, so he told me to go and present it in the.
That became part of the artificial heart eventually.
At that time, so the artificial heart evolved from pulsatile pump to. I'll go through that, the history. So he asked me to go and present it in American Society for Artificial Internal Organs, and I presented it, and that won me the Medforte Innovation Award. For developing this one, and that was my first award in US, and that was very encouraging. And also, Dr. Kolf.
The award means you get money for research. Is that what does it mean?
Yes.
Not to be a trophy or something.
No, I'll come to that. I'll come to that when I compare. So then he told, let's go and patent it. This is a wonderful technology. So we patented the coating itself and also the process. Those were my first US patents. This coating as well as the process. And that technology was taken by the industry, both two industries, and Dr. Kolf extended it to other products, like electrosurgical electrodes and things like that. So it found, use in more than. One of the advantages of any university in US is that if you have an invention and you got the patent, and if your technology is taken up by an industry, they will share the royalty with the inventors. So, but they will take about 40 to 45%. University will take, and rest 55 to 60% they will share among the professors and who all are in that invention, in the patent.
Even the professor get a share, right?
Professor also get a share if his name is on the patent, not if not. So yeah. The only
I know a Malayali professor in Stanford was 80 startup companies. You must have heard about. An engineer.
Yeah. No, the thing is that they will give you the opportunity, and there is something called technology transfer facility in every university, which they are constantly communicating with the industry that, hey, we have this technology, this patent, and many an industry will come to the technology transfer cell or technology transfer department, like in Stanford or Utah or Berkeley or you name it, and they will license the technology from the university. And most of the time, if a student is in that patent, or if the student is working on the patent, that student is sure to get a job once he finished his graduation or his PhD. And professor will be a consultant, and he'll be also given some stocks and things like that. So if you get one of your patents licensed, probably you are good for rest of the life. You get the royalty continuously coming to this one. If you have more than one patent, you are that is how. But again, in US, your dream is to become an entrepreneur. You have to have your own, facility, your own company.
Yourself, yeah, exactly. You don't want to work for somebody else. Yeah.
Exactly. I did it for some time, but I graduated.
Everyone does that. Yeah, but then eventually everyone wants to move on to your own thing. I remember my son saying, "Now I don't want to work for anybody else."
Exactly. That will come, because you are comfortable, and you don't have to worry, and that is one of the reasons in the research in India. has some hiccups. We will come to that at this one. So that is few things. I in my journey. I mean, that is how it is. And
what is the latest in artificial heart now? Has it been used now regular?
No, it is still used as a bridge to transplantation. One of the problems.
Instead of getting a heart from another, body,
donor.
Artificial heart is actually implanted.
It is implanted. And the scenario is changed. It is implanted, and people have lived up to 4.5 years before transplant, because in the transplant there are about 20,000 people waiting for a transplant, and in a year there are less than 800 hearts available for transplant. Because it has to match. And it has to be a healthy heart and things like that. So
getting from another body is thing to do, but if you can make it in the laboratory, why not?
They are doing it. That is the latest thing, that is happening. So they are currently.
And how long do they live? How long do they live? The longest.
The longest is about 4 months. They have lived, but they didn't die. They have been transplanted later. So. And then there is in a few cases they got a transplant, meaning they got a natural heart.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is a temporary.
Yeah, this is artificial heart is what they call is a bridge to transplant. Transplanting is taking one heart and putting it in another one. So that is what is happening.
Natural heart will have a longer duration capability.
Exactly.
Natural heart
yeah, exactly. The natural heart, is easy to maintain because it is part of the system. Artificial heart, you have to always be careful, for this thromboembolic event, which the COVID affected, which we will come to that a bit later. So you have to be on continuous monitoring, management, and all those things. Plus, you have to have the battery pack on your hip, always, getting charged and make sure that the battery is working and all those things. But nowadays it is remotely controlled, so it is not that big an issue. And especially with the latest battery technique, battery goes forever. And even Tesla, the car, is run on battery, with very high power, and it's a no maintenance car. That's a different subject altogether. So if you take the artificial heart, it was a pulsatile heart in the beginning, like pumping the heart. Then it became a centrifugal heart. That one of my major patents is that implantable centrifugal blood pump. That is with our team. And what it is doing is that is when we first time used a magnetic levitating impeller inside a cage where it will be rotating and pumping the blood from. It's a pump, from one side to the other side, and so
that gets the energy from a battery.
It gets energy from a battery, and it is in between two magnets and a electrical coil. So the impeller is sort of floating in the middle. It is not touching. There is no bearing. It's called magnetic bearing. So it doesn't touch. So there is no wear and tear because it has to run for at least 10 years. That is when the research is there. We are aiming it for at least 10 years of life. So. That is, then it graduated to centrifugal pump, and then it came to positive displacement pump. The initiator of that technology in the medical field is that Dr. DeBakey of Texas Heart Institute. He's the one who pioneered. But the pump technology is from NASA. NASA used this pump for fuel pumping during their moon mission and all those things. So then what Dr. DeBakey and his team, they modified it with the right material, and then they checked it because it's a type pump. It's only the size of a battery. Our 2A cell battery, slightly bigger, and it can pump up to 5 liters of blood, inside. And then the idea of ventricular assist device, they thought that we don't have to fully remove the heart and put, you can help the heart, to pump. And in many cases, that helping, supporting the ventricles, help the heart to regain its strength back to normal. So after some time, they will wean it out, meaning, slowly they will reduce the flow, help, and remove the artificial part of it. So that's only happening in 30 to 40%, because you have to implant a heart assist device or artificial heart only when the patient is in the terminal stage, at the end of the stage. But nowadays the technology has changed. Now you can detect the heart problem right from the womb. You can figure out whether the child is having a problem or the child will have a problem. So you can predict all those things. That is the advances in all this research, which we will touch upon later. So the positive displacement pump, sort of revolutionized. There was initial doubt among scientists and doctors. The positive displacement pump doesn't have a pulsatility, it is continuously pumping, where the heart is pulsing, and that is how the vessels are kept alive. Vessels get some sort of exercise due to this pulsatility, and that is how it is maintaining its elasticity, in many areas of our body. Then what they did initially was that they adjusted the speed. It will go fast and then slow down, go fast and slow down. So they created a pulsatility within the pump, of a continuous flowing pump. So that helped. And then after, when the patient gets used to that for some time, probably they can adjust the speed and they can continuously. That comes under the management of the physician and the patient. The patient condition, his blood, each patient's blood is different. So I think they have to manage the way they wanted it to manage, or they want to manage.
But Ajit, do you actually work in the operation theater when this is done, or you are not related?
No. I do go into the OR. We call it OR, an operating room. I do go into OR, and when a device that is first introduced,
you watch the performance and learn from it.
Yes, watch the performance, and also when one of our devices is implanted, we go there, and from the device perspective, we are the expert. The doctor has to be trained. So he wants always the scientist with him, telling that okay, this switch on this one, switch off this one, increase the speed. And after a couple of operations, he's set. He knows. Even before we used to give training to him.
But you still need a doctor. You can't implant this. You need a doctor.
I cannot. In US, I cannot touch a patient. I have to be. I have to be away from the OR room, but I can operate all those machines that are connected to the patient. But I cannot.
You watch from outside. You don't go inside.
Inside. By the side of we scrub ourselves. We do the scrubbing and gloves and all those OR suit. Nowadays extra, with the mask and double mask and all those things, But it has reduced because of the COVID, that people they don't want many people inside the OR nowadays, So that's but that is the vision of Dr. Veliathan. That I didn't go to the OR first time after coming to US. I did it in Chitra when we were developing the heart valve, and when he was implanting other heart valve, imported heart valve, he used to invite all of us and see how it is working and how it is doing and how it is featured, so that we can introduce features of similar features in our valve, so that it is easy to put it in. So, and with the oxygenator, this one, when he is doing the surgery in the heart-lung machine, the oxygenator they put, the Bioxyley oxygenator was very famous at that time.
To move the system onto the machine.
Exactly. So I was I have attended probably more than 50 or 60 clinical, meaning OR room experience in Chitra itself. And it increased when I am here, So, and many a time, even now, I'm advisor to many of the devices companies. When they do their implantation or when they do their experiment clinical trials, they call us. We have to go and be with the physician even beforehand, and we'll brief the physician. This is what we are planning to do. This is how it is being done. Earlier, there used to be this preclinical experience with the physicians. Nowadays, it is reducing because people are very smart. They are used to giving the understanding it very fast. Only difference is that depends on what device you are using. That is, when I come to research, I want to mention that there are two types of devices that generally being developed. One is a derivative device or derivative research, and the other one is a breakthrough device or a breakthrough research, which I will mention briefly. The general idea is that if it is a derivative device, that is an improvement on the existing device. Say for example, you have a stent, and then you have a drug-coated stent. That's an improvement on the stent. Those are two devices, but it is a derivative device. Whereas breakthrough device is like something bigger.
Totally new.
Yeah, something new. A typical example is exactly. A typical example is that earlier we used to do the heart valve change by opening the heart and doing a surgery. Now you don't need that. Now you do minimally invasive surgery, or not even surgery, minimally invasive replacement with a small catheter going into the heart. So that was a revolutionary or breakthrough. So all the physicians have to retrain the whole thing, to do that, because nobody knew, like a balloon angioplasty. Nobody knew what it is, and people even beginning didn't.
It is very, very common, isn't it? Now it's very
common. I still remember Dr. Bharachandran is the one who did first in Kerala in Uttarakhand Tirunal when he came to this one, and he has invited me many times to give talk to his doctors and his scientific community. So and he was successful. He's the balloon angioplasty first time doing. Then came the stent and all those things. I had the opportunity. We had a national test facility in Utah, because Utah was pioneering many things. So I had the opportunity to test almost all the device that is in the market now. Every company, every university, they will come. They will send it to Utah to test it in blood and in animals, and because they had an excellent facility. What we call vivarium, or the animal facility, and they had excellent blood compatibility testing. In fact, heading that hematology and hemo research lab was at that time Professor Faisal Muhammad, who was a professor at All India Institute of Medical Science in Delhi, and then later he moved to Utah. And he has the distinction of, at the age of 21, he published a paper in Nature. So if you know the gravity of it, getting a publication in Nature is something like, for a scientist, it's like almost getting a Nobel Prize.
Like a Nobel Prize.
Exactly, almost getting a Nobel Prize. And he's brilliant, and he is listed in Who is Who in America, 100 Who is Who in America, who changed the America, after independence. That is about 220 years history. These 100 people, and Dr. Kolf is one of them. Professor Muhammad is one of them, and his student Dr. Sukavaneshwar is still continuing that. I'm still collaborating with him. Whenever I need some help on testing some of the thing in blood, I just called Professor Muhammad. He's semi-retired. He's in the philanthropic stuff now. He's I think over 85, I believe. But Dr. Sukavaneshwar and
has a natural heart. He still has a natural heart working.
He still has a natural heart. And coming to that, Dr. Sukavaneshwar, you may know, he is the son of the ex-chief secretary of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Sukavaneshwar, who was the chief secretary of Jayalalitha. Yeah, he is his son. Brilliant guy. And when I talked about, when I sent our flyer for this artificial heart project, I'm having a discussion with Honorable Ambassador Sreenivasan. One of my friends, my college mate, Sanjay Lokande, who lives in Delhi, and he's an outstanding organizer and an outstanding coordinator of things, right from the college days. He told me that I'm going to put a caption for your flyer, and this is it. He's sending it to all the engineering group we have. And the caption, he said, lost heart or broken heart. The solution is here. Watch this show.
Very good. I must put it on fire too.
Yeah, I told Lokande, that was very, very kind of you, to do that. So, the training, my colleagues, in Chitra also, Nagesh was there, who also got the Boy Scouts fellowship, and he came to Cleveland Clinic and got trained in the blood pumps, and he tried to initiate something in Chitra. He's still in Chitra, and Mr. Muralidharan, and who was directly involved in the mechanical part of the heart valve. He was a computer wizard, and you remember in early late 70s and early 80s, he was doing computer programming, with the limited facility that we had, and in Chitra. And Dr. Bhuneshwar, who was heading the heart valve project, he became later the head of the technology division. And the team was fantastic, and the Mr. Neelakandan Nair from Trivandrum, he was the engineer, a mechanical engineer, who developed this cryo machining. This ultra high molecular weight polyethylene is a material you cannot machine very easily. The ordinary machine cannot be done. So it has to be cooled under 120 degrees C with liquid nitrogen, and machine it with a lathe and what you call a pointing gun with a liquid nitrogen. He machined it, and that is the valve still used. The first patient who was implanted with that stellate cage and this ultra high molecular weight polyethylene disc is still alive after 30 years. So the same patient, and Mr. Balagopal, who's the first entrepreneur in medical devices, I'll come to that. He wrote an article about this, Mr. Murali, that is the name of the patient who got first Chitra heart valve. He is still going strong after 30 years. So now that is a great achievement. And when I talk to
that continuously, heart valve is now normal thing to be done, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is that is one thing. When we talk about Indian research, I will talk about that. The heart valve also is involved. Nowadays, in US at least, there is no mechanical heart valve made. They make mechanical heart valve only for pediatric patients. Patients who are less than 15 or 10 years old.
Children.
Yeah, and all other valves, what is put in artificial heart, in left ventricular device, or in patients, are tissue valves. So what they do is that they take the pericardium, that is the heart covering that is outside the heart, and shape it into a valve, and put it in a cage, and then implant it in patient. And you don't need an operation for that, which is called the percutaneous. They can put a catheter through your. It's like your angioplasty. You go in and then
that becomes part of your body.
That's right. That will become part of your body, and so that has become. And again, further development which I was involved too. There is a device called Mitra clip. I don't know whether they started implanting it in India, but that is revolutionizing the heart valve therapy. You don't have to do even a surgery. You don't have to do even replace the valve. You go and mostly the biggest problem with the heart valve, especially the mitral valve, what is called the mitral valve stenosis. That means when the valve is closing, it is not fully closing, so it is leaking through the valve leaflets, so that the blood is not getting oxygenated, and patient become weak, and the heart is dilating, and eventually they will die. That was the biggest problem. That is still the biggest problem. That is what Dr. Valithan was trying to address, because that was a big problem for India. So that is why he initiated this heart valve program. But now what they are doing is that, okay, you don't have to replace the valve, you don't have to have surgery. What it is doing is that it is going and clipping the leaflet so that the regurgitation or the blood leaking through from ventricle to atrium is closed. And the patient is walking out of the hospital either the same day or the next day. It doesn't need much. Initially they were keeping it for 3 months. Now it is quick and very fast. What a revolution that is. And I don't know. I heard that they are trying to do one implantation in Escorts Hospital, New Delhi. I had to check on the update, whether it is being done or not. But it will come. It will come to this one. It is developed by Abbott. I was also involved in that development, and that is a revolutionizing technology. So that is probably the gist of the development of artificial heart. Please let me know if you want me to go deeper into any of these areas.
Well, we have very little time. I think we have already used up a lot of time. But can we talk about the COVID impact? How it has changed all this?
Yes, it changed a lot of things. It changed from a researcher or a scientist perspective. It has changed the direction of research itself. So now there is another parameter or a boundary condition is imposed into the integral of the whole thing. So you have to consider certain things, before doing the research. So one of the greatest direct impacts that we researchers or scientists had was that the direct lab work is sort of completely, it's on a standstill. It is slowly gaining back after 1.5 years. One of the problems is that, you cannot be in the lab, you have to be alone either, or, you have to minimum 2 people in a big lab. Things cannot move. See, for example, the heart valve testing, which has to go 10 million cycles, and it is continuously working, and you have to continuously monitor that. There is electronic monitoring and all, but you have to adjust, occasionally, the pressure, the flow, everything to test it. That has to stop completely, because nobody is there in the lab to do that, and that is one thing.
People working closely has become difficult.
Very difficult, very difficult. They are doing, the Zoom is doing a wonderful job, at least we can, like WebEx. We can at least face-to-face talk. Second thing was that from an artificial heart or the blood pump, or now we call it a structural heart. That means we are playing with the structure of the heart. And there is another development parallelly happening, which I'm indirectly involved. I'll talk about that. It's the blood clot management. That, the people talk about blood clot. If you take a vaccine, there are incidents of clot forming, inside this one and creating problem. And that is really creating problem when we are testing the blood pumps, or anything on the structural heart. Even on when we are trying to do it in the lab using this preclinical blood or animal blood, and they try to induce the COVID virus into that, it is creating problem, without body adjusting anything wrong.
Has COVID made you recalculate the length of life of people, in the sense that even if they are healed, they may not last as long as they used to do in normal circumstances? Has that happened?
You don't have to recalculate. That is becoming more and more evident, unless otherwise, you come up with something that, is taking away. Well, I don't know whether I can talk certain things in the open forum. I don't want to, give wrong information.
Particularly, it might scare people, right?
Exactly. I don't want to scare people, but COVID stays there for a long time, even if you think you are cured. And first of all, people think that it is a respiratory problem. It is not. I stop there. I don't want to go further on that, because that, we can talk in person, all those things. So there is another thing that is happening in parallel is in the genetics and stem cell research. Now, what they are trying to do actually in Stanford, it actually grew. They are trying to grow a heart or any organ that, for that matter, with the patient's own tissue. So, and that is fantastic. You have a scaffold of your shape of and size of your heart and the chamber size, and you take the tissue and grow the tissue over the scaffold, so that then once it is ready, they externally connect it. Take a shunt from your femoral artery and connect it to the heart and acclimatize it, to some extent, and then you can. But that hasn't been done it in patient yet, but if I am right, there are few animals walking around with that, to some extent. But these are, I cannot go further deeper into that. One of the things is that confidentiality is a big thing here, that is where everything is put on. That is one of the problems that we see in research in India. I attempted to collaborate with several universities, industries in India, but one of the problems is the confidentiality part of it. So
Does
the
it, mean that,
genetic.
does it mean that there is also spying taking place, like in diplomacy or anywhere else? I mean, industrial spying is very common.
I don't want to use the word spying, but I'll tell you the example. If one company comes with a device or a patent is published, the first thing the other companies do is that go to that patent and ask their engineers to work around the patent. That is why so many companies are making a stent. So many companies are making catheters because they know how to work around. So now the strategy is that if you have a core patent on any technology, you have to create a fort around that core patent so that nobody will penetrate. Each and every aspect of it, you cover it. And I was heading a team. They got a wonderful technology, and they asked me and my team patent as much as possible and find out ways to patent as much as possible around this core patent so that nobody can. It's creating a chakravyuha, if you talk it in terms of Mahabharata. Yeah, exactly. And what I have seen is that I used to quote Mahabharata every time when you get a situation. I used to tell my friends, American friends here, there is nothing that is not in Mahabharata, but there will be, you can find something already not in the world, but in Mahabharata. So you are still filling the gap between Mahabharata and the world. Anyway, that is another philosophical. But having given that, there are some good things that happened out of the COVID situation. One is that the whole world, we developed a vaccine in 6 to 8 months. Normally, it takes 5 to 10 months. Okay, and such a that is why people don't believe. How can you do that? And do that. And second thing,
they used to take 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years.
Pardon.
Initially, they said the vaccine will take 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years, but they brought it out in 6 to 8 months. Initial trials started within that time. So within a year, the whole world.
Newer technologies are coming. Even in India, we are developing new technology.
That's what, in Chitra Tirunal did a good job, and I was listening to Dr. Kishore, Dr. Asha Kishore's speech, and they are doing a tremendous job, but unfortunately, some other things are taking place peripherally, or which is sort of trying to squeeze things out, but that I don't want to get into the political sector.
She herself had to leave. She herself had to
leave. Exactly. Then if some of my friends ask, why don't you come to India and do something here? Of late, I told my friends I will definitely talk to Dr. Asha Kishore and decide where to come to India and do that, and at least you have to get an honorable exit. There is a chance to have an honorable exit. But I'm not going to getting into politics.
We have stories of various kinds, even in space technology. How much.
Yeah, exactly. And this one, my take on that is that I want to work somewhere where I can work on what I want to do, not that what someone else want to do. But I will keep the general focus in mind. What is needed. Probably, I think that is what the India should follow too. And see, for example, you are asking about you get any royalty or money from your patent. Yes, we all get it. But in India, what do you get? You get the salary, maybe a recognition certificate letter or whatever it is, and that is it. But
when you get an award, you can leverage funding from somewhere else.
That's all you need.
They say that some researchers here would want awards, not a Nobel Prize, because Nobel Prize doesn't get them that much money.
Yeah.
But if you get an award, you can leverage money from different sources. This is what
yeah, well, that is not the true research. When you don't own things, then so the belongingness is not there. So we have to continue throughout the product life cycle process, to get there. And that is one thing in India. What we have is that we don't have. See, for example, a few things. The advantages of COVID. the artificial intelligence and machine learning has taken over because of this one, because you can work from home and, create new things. And, especially the advancement in robotics and sensors. I should say robotics especially because it is taking over almost everything. We have
surgery is all robotic. Right?
That's right. We have a company here called Intuitive Surgicals. Now it is changed the name to Intuitive because they don't want to be restricted to surgicals. They want to expand. And actually, one of my good friends, Mr. Prakash Nair, is heading the IT part of it there. And he's a graduate from London School of Economics. And how many people at that time knew that London School of Economics as a technology masters? And he did that, and he's heading the technology there. And then what's happening is that there is a question. You asked that question to Dr. Asha Kishore. Will the robots take over? So I long back, when we were having the discussion, of robots taking over, or the doctors, then I told one of my friends, you doctors are losing your job and the robots are coming. So his answer to that at that time, they'll be treating the robots themselves, not us. The patient will be a robot, and, it won't be called treatment. It will be called repair.
This is well known. You remember in Kerala, people did not want computers because they thought they would lose their jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
But now they lose their jobs if you don't have a computer because there is no job that can be done without a computer.
The amount of job that was created by the computer or the software and all those things is enormous.
So we are running out of time, so let's also deal with one other question I would like to ask.
Please.
With all the technology, how did the United States fail in fighting the pandemic? Is it politics? Is it science? Is it philosophy? What is it? Because this is something that nobody understands.
Very good question.
We're the worst affected country in the world. What are you all doing?
Yes. Two things. I will put two general words into that. One is that freedom. I'll explain how freedom affected the COVID management. Second thing is that the not leaving the comfort zone. I'll explain that too. The freedom is that in US, the healthcare is your personal responsibility. Government is not responsible for that. You have to have an insurance, and you have to have that the insurance coverage, and then you have to ask the insurance company whether you can have a treatment. That is one of the reasons every time a device is developed, we have to check with the government and the CRP code whether this will be covered by the insurance. Otherwise, there is no market. Nobody will buy it. The hospital, the patient will say, I don't want because my insurance is not covering it. So COVID was unknown. So the insurance companies were not covering the treatment or admitting the hospital. Later, it was imposed on them, so that it had to be covered, where the government intervention was needed.
So, but initially, they were not covering the COVID cases by insurance.
Initially they were not covering.
Oh.
Yeah, no. See, for example, when I am covered by a big company called Kaiser. It's a medical insurance company. They have hospitals. They have everything. I talked, say one of my friends, who is in Kaiser. I knew the doctor, Dr. Bhakta, and I asked doctor, see, I had to bring my friend there. He told, we don't have a protocol for that. So how do they won't go beyond, they don't want to get into trouble. That is one thing. And second thing was what I call the comfort zone. Americans don't want to come out. Most of the Americans, average American, they don't want to come out of the comfort zone. The only time they will come out of the comfort zone is that when they hear something called war. If the war is there, suddenly they are in action. Otherwise, their comfort zone is war.
This is existential.
No. That is exactly what happened. So they don't want to come out of their comfort zone. Like, if they are having beer, beef, and football. Football is American football, or what you call is that, booze, food, and entertainment. They are comfortable with that. This COVID was a disturbance for them. They don't want to come out. And more than that, initially, politically, there was a message they're trying to give.
President Trump himself sent the wrong message.
Yeah, exactly. It's only flu. Why are you worried about? All those things accumulated, and when they realized, only people started dying. So that was, and there are still people, they don't believe in vaccination.
Yes. And almost 30% of the people will never have vaccination.
No. So what happened was that using this opportunity, so many these groups, belief groups or these cultural groups and all those things, they try to enhance their reach, saying that don't worry, don't take the vaccine, we are here. That is why you can survive. And most of the preachers died of COVID, so then it started coming down. And the third thing was that actually when Biden came, he had to give that word that we are at war with COVID, and that only sort of so shook the.
He has not made much of a difference. So.
No, well, he's promoting vaccination for sure. He has already called the CEOs of the company and told them that make sure that all your employees are vaccinated, so that you get special recognition and maybe including tax benefit and things like that. So now everyone gets
ice cream. If you get a vaccination, you get ice cream in New York.
Well, this is for the whole company, so it's the responsibility of the board or the CEO to make sure that all his employees are vaccinated. So,
no, but if a certain percentage of the people never take vaccination, then how will you get herd immunity in the US?
Well, good question. No, because the freedom factor is such big that they have the choice whether to take it or you cannot police vaccination at least for now. Yeah. So you cannot do that.
There are actually very senior, serious-looking people are saying this is not a vaccine. This is something else. This is painful. This is.
That is true. But one thing to remember is that, see, in 2020, because of the mask culture and all those things promoted, there was almost nil or close to zero case of flu. Because, by routine, every American during the fall, they take the flu shot. You know that,
Yeah.
So it was not needed. There was not a officially reported flu in any of the counties or any of the states, but there may be few of them. And
I used to take it in the US. It was compulsory. The doctors used to give me a flu shot every year.
Yeah. So and that what they call it is the mask effect, and I'll slowly touch on the research in that Kerala we attempted,
Yes.
So there was
very little time.
Pardon?
Okay, go ahead. Let's conclude with that.
So we can see there was an effort by the government, and I was part of this one too, and it was initiated by inaugurated by the Chief Minister himself, and that is the Kerala Medical Technology Consortium, and that was I think under the leadership of Dr. K.M. Abraham, the KIFBI chairman. And myself and Dr. Rajesh Radhakrishnan, my colleague, who is an outstanding, angioplasty balloon engineer, scientist, and it was spearheaded by Dr. T. Ramendran, who is the ex Vice Chancellor of Kochi University, and he's my colleague. When I came first, and then he joined my group, and later he decided to go back and to become the Vice Chancellor of.
I know him. He was Vice Chancellor when I was in education.
Yeah. He and his wife, and he was made the nodal officer for this one, but that was in 2019, and that got sort of COVIDated, means it is sort of hibernated now. Hope we can restart on that. There we put that proposal. It's not a proposal; it's a charter in which we said that what is to be done. Like what Dr. Asha was saying, the incubator stuff, and getting into this one. Why industries are not interested in sponsoring research in India? One of the reasons is the IP ability or the intellectual property right, protection, which we want to talk about everything, outside. And see, that is one of the reasons. And the other thing was that we wanted to put it forth, make the research or development culture among students, and that was one of the initiative. But it's all in limbo now. And culturally, what is happening is that for us, research or doing PhD is just a stopover. It's a bridge to job. No, I mean, until you get the job, you have a stipend that is coming on PhD. And I have seen people saying that, there are people doing PhD for 18, 19 years and, still staying around there. So because it's an income. So it's not coming from the heart, that belongingness, or it's the passion for that is not there, first of all. Second
that's
thing
a subject or another subject altogether. I have lots of ideas about research. We are still gathering information. We are not doing anything else.
Exactly. And we
2% copied from existing texts, you can get a PhD.
That's right. So with a reverse thesis, that's what we call it here. Or
on that happy note, you are not in those circumstances, but I'm sure you will succeed, and we'll look out for you on the Nobel Prize list one of these days.
Thank you for your good words. That is something to dream. I don't know whether I am there yet. My professor, Dr. Kolf, didn't get it, but that was for a different reason. He was nominated.
No, Nobel Prize is something like that. I mean, you can never be sure. Professor Jagdish Bhagavati has not got a Nobel Prize.
Exactly.
5 students have got Nobel Prizes. So I used to tell him, you will be known as the best economist who did not win a Nobel Prize.
That's right. Dr. Kolf is the father of almost all the organs, transplant, including all those.
So everybody who does well will not get the Nobel Prize. That is very true. Yeah. But I think anyway, a breakthrough has to come somewhere. So thank you, Ajit, for spending some very useful time with us. I think it will be of interest not only to common men, but also even doctors will benefit from your concept. So thank you very much. Maybe we'll have another one a few months later to fill up the gaps. So
sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Sreenivasan.
Sorry for making you wake up early in the morning. And
no, I wake up early, 5 o'clock, and go for a walk or go for golf, or sometimes it is badminton. So to try to remain active. Once again, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and time to enjoy a cup of tea with with you. Tea with TPS.
Virtual cat. So thank you for joining me for a cup of tea. Next time we will probably have a glass of scotch. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And you have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you.